Welcome to Smart Branding, a podcast dedicated to branding, naming, and domain names. I'm Tatiana Bonneau, and with my guests, we try to help you create and grow strong, memorable, and meaningful brands online. I believe time is one of our most precious assets, and so I want to thank you in advance if you decide to spend the next 30 minutes with us. I promise to do my best to make those worth it. Let's go. So today my guest is Beale. He's a marketing strategist who helps companies market smarter by leveraging automation, artificial intelligence, and funnels. He's also known as Mr. Marketology, and kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to talk about today. Hi, and welcome to the podcast, Jeff.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Let's start with a bit of a background. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how did you get into marketing?
Okay, yeah. So I've been doing marketing for a long time. I've been on every aspect or every seat at the table, if you could say. Started off doing web design and was working in the military. Happened to tell them that their website in the Air Force sucked, and they told me to build one. So I learned that. Then I said, well, no one can find you. And this was in the 90s. This was when Google was in its infancy. And they said, well, fix it. So I started learning SEO. Moved out of the military aspect and went to corporate. Went from there to agency. Went from there to in-house. Then went from there to consultation. And there found my love in strategy. So I've done everything from web design to SEO to paid to email to marketing automation. And now I'm integrating automation with artificial intelligence. So I've seen marketing grow and I've grown with it. And it's been a fun journey.
That's quite interesting story. And I looked at your profile obviously before the podcast, and I didn't that was not there, the story with the building the army site. So that's very cool. yeah that's very funny. And so you've been, like you said, you've been around online marketing, because marketing obviously has existed before, but online obviously is a huge change. And so how do you feel has it developed over time? Like, what strikes you as let's say the most important? And as a follow-up on that, what do you feel businesses get wrong today about how to market themselves in most common cases?
Well, I think marketing principles are the same. So the principles of marketing haven't changed. Just the approach to marketing has changed a bit. So before it used to be push marketing. And what that is basically whoever has, well, let's say he or she who has the biggest budget beats you into submission. So they advertise and advertise and advertise until you say they must be the greatest because they're the only one that's seen. But now with social media, texts, and so many other ways of gathering information, the internet, it's now more of a pull marketing because people have so many options. They can review for themselves. They don't have to wait for your commercial to come on or your billboard to be seen. They can go out and find out information about your company, or people are very opinionated, especially on social, about how they feel about a certain brand. So that approach has changed. You have to do a little bit more of culture awareness and unique selling propositions more than before, that he or she who had the biggest budget won. So that has changed. People now are looking at how, beyond just price, how can you benefit me? It's not just a person that has the lower, business that has the lowest price is the best, or the one that shows the most luxurious high-end product must be the best. You have a lot of things that now factor in, and people now have customized it or personalized it to their specific needs. And then the last thing that marketing has changed over the years has been there's a lot more shiny new tools out there. So a lot of marketers, especially smaller marketing departments, they get caught up in all the shiny new tools. Who's the newest kid on the block? And I need to be there because everyone's there. And that's not really what you should focus on. Everybody might be there, but you should be where your customers are. You should be where they're going to find what you offer. Just because TikTok is very popular, you don't need to see me dancing on TikTok. My little one, she can dance for the both of us. But I don't need to be dancing because everyone else is dancing on TikTok. So as a marketer, I need to be up there dancing and telling you how you can get rich too, like me. That's not really a good fit for my business and my customers. So I think that's how marketing has changed over the years. And now with artificial intelligence getting involved, it's going to change a lot more and a lot faster, because people without the, I would say, technical knowledge now have access to do things that they before would have had a large learning curve to do. And so now you can create videos without even being on video. And it actually is an avatar that looks real. Not the cartoons of before. Now it literally is a person's video that's synced to your words. I was looking at something last night that was very interesting. This guy can't rap at all. He literally did some lyrics and had a AI change his tone, his look and everything to be Kanye West. And he literally put it out as a new Kanye West song. And people think it's a new Kanye West song. And it's a guy that has nothing relating to Kanye West. He let you hear his voice and his style before, and then he typed it up, put it in this program, and it literally put the words, put Kanye, and you know how they have, what is it called? Face faking or something, where Kanye's mouth is moving to the words and so forth. It was amazing. I said, wow, so that's going to change a lot of ways we approach marketing. And unfortunately, you remember the old commercial, it must be true. It's on the internet. It must be true.
Yeah.
A lot more of that, I guess you would say, illusion truth that's going to be out there. And consumers are going to get a lot more savvy. So marketers are going to have to be a lot more creative in how they reach their audience.
Absolutely. And I think we in that sort of overview of how it has developed, you touched on already a few things that marketers and entrepreneurs as part of that mix are getting wrong, where like the following the latest craze, always trying to be everywhere. That's definitely something I've noticed as well. Inconsistency as well, which kind of falls into that as well. I think if you're true to your brand, if you know who your audience is, you know what your brand stands for, it's so much easier to make those choices of, where do I need to be, what do I need to say. So yeah, definitely. And artificial intelligence is an interesting one, because there's so much happening and so quickly, like it's a struggle to keep up just watching it, let alone doing stuff with it. And but I think in one way, it might make us appreciate more the human sides of marketing, because I'm starting to notice already. I deal with premium domain names, so I get a lot of inquiries every day for different names that I work with. And I thought it will take longer. It is so obvious when I get a message written with ChatGPT. It's getting so obvious. It's like, oh, not again.
So you're getting the, I hope you're doing well. Every time I see that as the first sentence, I'm like, oh, they didn't, and that's just being lazy. That's really just being lazy. I'm like, okay, they use ChatGPT because every single ChatGPT email starts with the same first sentence. I don't know why, but
there you go. That's literally, it's that. There's a few phrases that are really, classic ChatGPT, and like you say, you just didn't even bother changing it, because I guess it's okay using it to improve stuff or put stuff together, but just change it a little bit, like make it your own. That's just crazy. I wanted to ask you about domain names. I noticed. Let's backtrack that. Before the domain names, how did Mr. Marketology come around? It's a very curious choice of a name.
Now that's interesting, because really the reason I came over with Mr. Marketology is I look at marketing in a omni-channel approach. So you approach marketing in several different ways, and really it's an art and a science to it. But I do like to say to a lot of businesses out there, a lot of marketers make it more mystical than it really is. I mean, they make it so complicated and, oh, it's a lot of things going on that it really isn't. It's pretty simple in the principles of it. But the thing is, there's a lot of different ways to approach it. And I work with building out strategies for companies and helping them understand a better customer journey from brand awareness to sales. So with that, there is an art and a science to it. And that's why I started looking at what would kind of put it all into a name. Jeff Beale just doesn't put that into a name. Plus, there's another Jeff Beale out there that is a very award-winning composer. And, I just wanted to make sure that I was separated from anybody else. And so that's the reason I came up with the name.
That's cool. And I noticed you do have actually MrMarketology.com, and you also do have JeffBeale.com. So you did secure those two. From where you stand, putting aside the technical side of domain names, because that's a whole different story, where do you see them? You did say marketing is a whole mix of a lot of things, a lot of elements. Where in that do you see domain names as brand assets?
Oh, wow. Domain names, that's your name. I mean, it is your reputation. You have to secure that. The first two, secure your personal name so people can't just, make up anything about you. And then your business as well. Because as a competitor, if I wanted to destroy you and be unethical, I could literally just get your domain name and poach off of your customers. Offer the same thing and poach off of your customers. Or I can slander your name by having your domain name. There's so many reasons why you should secure that for yourself, even if you don't use it more than just a, placeholder. But that's the main reason. And then whatever campaigns you have going on, secure names that make sense for those campaigns. One reason would be it helps to segment that audience for that particular campaign. The second would be SEO. Of course, everybody starts off, hey, SEO, for your search results. But, it helps with that as well. And then it just makes sense. If you're doing a campaign and let's say you're talking about travel, have a domain name that makes sense about travel. Don't have a domain name that's talking about pets. And on the page, it's talking about travel. It doesn't make any sense. So, your name is very important, just like a person's name is important to them. So think of it like naming your baby. You got to name it right.
No, I completely agree with that. And I like that you mentioned, the obvious one, like you said, get your personal name, even if you're not using it immediately, and the one for your business. And then I like the fact that you went into the creative side of things. And funnily enough, big established brands are very good at that. They have like huge portfolios of domain names. And there's even a funny thing like people monitoring like Disney or other big companies, their domain registration, because it's usually a giveaway of whatever next is coming, because they reserve those prior to releasing film titles and all that. So it kind of can give you a sneak peek on what are they up to. But yeah, smaller companies sadly are not there yet. And sometimes you can see even I would say average size companies that would actually start marketing and pushing a campaign, and they would have like some short slogan, and they're banging it everywhere, or they're putting a hashtag with it, and they haven't registered a domain name. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Like, how simple is it?
Yes. And how inexpensive is it? Because I've worked with some clients before that they did not secure their name. And when they became successful, all of a sudden somebody had their name and was reselling it back to them for thousands of dollars. Yeah. I think the largest one, I want to say back in the day, was it Bad Boys or somebody had that domain name, and they really retired off of reselling that name back to the company because the company had to have that name. So I've worked with companies and they've had that problem. They were like, hey, we're now getting some of the market share, but we don't have our domain name and we can't secure it. What can we do? And it's like, well, you can pay the person that has it. That's one option. Two, you can try to do the .org, .cc, .io, all the other extensions, or you can go legal and try to go after them in court, but still that's going to cost you thousands of dollars to do so. So instead of having that headache, if you believe in your business, go ahead and register your domain up front.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good advice. That's a sound advice. So yeah, add that to the mistakes that people make most often. What would you say in your experience with your clients? Like if you had a magic wand and you can just stop them doing one thing, what would it be?
Stop chasing all the shiny tools. Be very strategic, understand your audience, and go to them where they want to be seen, or where they want to see you. Don't stop chasing all the shiny objects. That's the one thing that is the biggest hindrance I've seen in business. They run to this business, that business. I need to be on Facebook. I need to be on TikTok. And I used to always tell them, who runs your business, you or Facebook? Because they're wondering about the algorithms. I need to know the algorithms. I need to know the trends. I need to set up this up. I need to send all my leads to them. And then all of a sudden they get banned for some reason. And their business is basically on that platform. And they're like, what do I do now? Well, you didn't secure your own brand. You basically let them run your business. And you were so worried about what they were doing and how you could fit into what they were doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge I faced in the past 10 years, I would say.
Definitely. And actually it comes back to domains, because I keep saying that to people, like you build your website is your place on the internet. Like it still blows my mind that people would be sending their audience, like you say, to Facebook or to Instagram or to whatever. And like, it's cool you're talking to them there. But as soon as that has happened, you can be banned, algorithms can change. They change like all the time. And suddenly those people don't see you, and you have that block between you and your audience, which you brought there.
Yep. And it's genius though. I mean, you have companies that are uploading their data. You have companies that are sending their contacts there. Then you got the same companies paying for advertisement for the data that they sent.
Exactly.
And it's a beautiful model, because they're like, well, Facebook ads give me better results, or Google ads give me better results. Well, honestly, their business is the data. Their business is in social media. Their business is in search engine. Their business is advertisement and data. And you are providing them that for free and then paying them to get it back.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful business model.
Yeah. Well done, Mark. Have on back. No, yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you on that. That's the running around. So what you do is, and I think what you like, all of the issues actually that we outlined in a way can be resolved with what you do, because you help businesses have a strategy. And when you have a strategy, I think it's a lot harder to start running around after shiny objects, because you know where you're going. So tell me a little bit more about that. How does that work? What type of a business can come to you for advice, and at what stage of development do they have to be, or does it matter?
Yeah, I definitely recommend it for businesses at all stages, but I work better with businesses that are already established, because what I like to do is I like to pull from your data, and the data drives the decision. If you're just starting out, I say, okay, well, let's look at some competitive data, market data. Let's look at some other data, but base our decisions on that and not just assumptions that we have or likes that we might want out there. So the first thing is we look at your audience. Who is your ideal audience? I mean, not the ones that tell you you're great. I remember I used to tell people, everybody tells you you're great until you tell them what the price is. And then all of a sudden, oh, well, I can't buy that right now. Well, I thought it was great, so, I heard somebody say this. I can't claim this, but I heard somebody say, I think it was JR that was saying, you can cook. Everybody will come to your table and eat for free. But the minute you start charging for the food, that's when you know if you're really good at it, being a cook or not. So, first know your audience. And then from there, then we start to look at how do you get in front of them? What's their needs? How do you speak to their needs? And then how do you capture them and get them into your universe? Get them into your culture. They start to now trust you. They start to like you. They start to, just like we talked about your boy Mark, Facebook. We bought into their culture so much that it's literally a part of our lives. And so how do you get them to be like this with your company? And then it's easier to sell when you're like that. I mean, I don't see Mark doing any type of advertisement of why you should buy on Facebook. It's now we're part of the culture. And so building that strategy helps, and what the next steps are. So what makes sense. Do I send an email? Do I send a text message? I cannot stand getting text messages from people that want to sell me websites or marketing. I'm like, you didn't even look at my profile at all. No data-driven decisions are being made here. And so if you can see the map, you can start to make smarter marketing moves, and you can see if you're off track. Now, do you play with the shiny toys? Yeah, you have time to do that. That's called research and development. You have a budget for that. You have people to do that, but that's not your core approach when it comes to marketing. That's something that's saying, this is working now. We have extra. Let's put a little bit over here and see if TikTok works for me. Let me see if Snapchat works for me. If it does, we'll put more budget toward it, and we'll start doing more in that area. But if it doesn't, we learn. I don't call it losing. It's either learning or earning. We learn, and we won't do that again. So that's really why strategy is important. It's not the sexy thing. People love the sexy, and lead generation is sexy. Oh, I can get you all these, leads. I can make you a millionaire overnight. I can make you 7-figure earner. That sounds sexy. But the real truth is, if you don't know your audience, you don't have an audience, those type things are just a waste of money and a waste of time.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely agree with you on that as well. On the strategy, like, how does that typically work? How does it look like a process when somebody comes to you for help?
Okay. Yeah, we do a lot of exercises together. So the first exercise we do is to understand your audience. I love AI because AI now, I can pull data from different sources very quickly. Before it used to be a tool pulling exercise. It was, who's your ideal audience? Okay, let's define that. What are their needs? No, not just demographics. What are their needs? Oh, but why would they need that? It was. Now I can say, okay, let's look at your current base if you have customers already. If not, let's look at some of your competitors' customers. What lookalikes do they have? Okay, this is what they look like. Okay, so now what needs do they have? But I can start plugging this into AI now, and it can start giving me back data to help you now start the creative juices flowing. Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Okay. McDonald's, if I'm McDonald's, I love using them for analogy. I stopped eating there. I used to eat there all the time, but McDonald's is not about the food. It's the convenience. It has nothing. It's the real estate. It's the locations, the convenience. It has nothing to do with the food. The food, I've never said, wow, this is the best burger I've ever had. Never. So it's not the food. So if you were in the market and saying, and I've had restaurants say, well, we had the best burgers out. Nobody goes because of the burgers. I mean, that's not the selling point right there. So, understanding that, and AI can help understand that. Then after we get the audience down, I say, okay, we've identified the audience. We've identified the needs. What's your benefit statement to those needs? Most of us start with, this is who we are. This is why we're the best. Nobody cares, But here's the thing. What's the benefit? For instance, domain. You work with domains. What's your benefit? Your benefit is two different things when I see domain. Vanity, security. In branding, it's that vanity of we own this, look at us, and security, then our competitors can't take our name, our reputation, and ruin it. Those are the two biggest benefits of your domain name. And I guess ease of finding you. Because, if they know your name, and I love that in SEO, we rank for our name. You should. Because if you have your own domain name, you should rank for your name. It should be that simple. But, understanding that for your message, then what do you offer? With your offer, why do you offer it? What makes it something that someone will want? And what makes the proper price? And when it comes to the price, it doesn't have to be the cheapest. It doesn't have to be the most expensive, but it has to make sense. And then from there, how can you capture this lead? Whether it's a funnel, website, however, how can you capture the lead? What's the journey that you're going to put them on? Emails, text messages, chat bots, whatever. What's the journey? Then from there, how are you going to track the success of that? And then after you nail that down, now how are you going to drive your traffic? What kind of content you're going to put out there? That's how I build the strategy for companies. And then following that, now it starts to make sense. It says, okay, because most people start with traffic. But if you have no place to send them, you're just wasting money. If you have no process to get them through from point A to point Z, then you're just wasting money. And you got 1 million people that you paid for and you have no process to sell them. At the end of the year, you're going to be out of business. So that's why I tell people, set up the foundation first, set up the strategy first, make it make sense, and then start opening up the floodgates, start driving the traffic. And with that, especially when they see it, and the way I like to do it, I like to give it to them in a visual map. I know, a lot of mindset coaches say, have a vision board, have a mind map. I like to give it to you in a visual map. And then we have the process, something that your team can look at and see and say, okay, this is where we do this. This is where we do that. And this is why it makes sense. So that's how I build out the strategies.
Definitely agree with you on that. And kind of in my, as you were saying, it goes back to the running after shiny objects a little bit, because I can totally see people, you mentioned getting a lot of traffic, and especially early on startups have that thing where they're getting like, oh my God, we're getting all that traffic, or we paid for, whatever, and we're getting all that. It's like, so what? If you can convert those people, or if they drop off, or like they bought one time and they never come back, and you're just on to that treadmill again, it just makes no sense.
Yeah. A lot of people are starting to see that with the likes and follows, on social media. They're like, oh, I have 1 million followers. And it's like, oh, okay, so business must be great. And you can see the hesitation when they be like, yeah, business is great. And you're like, nah, you're not selling anybody. You got a bunch of people that honestly, if I was to today go out here and do something very foolish to hurt myself, I would get a lot of people to watch me fail.
I'm sure.
Doesn't mean I would grow my business at all. So, a lot of us start looking at these vanity metrics, but we don't have a way to convert those vanity metrics into sales. So let's look at some people that have done that well. You have Dollar Shave Club. They're famous for that. Yeah, they have funny videos. Those funny videos have millions of people watching, but they had a strategy to say, okay, out of this, we're going to get men that don't want to go spending a lot of money on razors. We're going to give them this membership. It's going to be low cost. It doesn't cost much. We know how much razors cost, and this makes more sense. They're going to laugh at it. They're going to share it with other men because it's funny. And then other men are going to say, yeah, that does make sense to pay them, $12 a month versus going out and buying razors. That makes a whole lot of sense. It's convenient. It comes to my house. I don't have to. And all of a sudden, they don't have to sell you. You can sell yourself. And so that's why it worked. But they didn't just put up a bunch of funny videos with no call to action, no next
to get
step.
A lot of likes. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. Absolutely. I can see that. And I would swap, I don't know, probably like millions of followers and whatever for a decent, clean mail list with people who you actually have a connection with and you can reach out directly.
Yes. Yes. And that's so important to have that list that if you tell them about something, they're going to take action. That's the challenge when it comes to buying lists. You can buy a list with millions of people on it, but if you have no trust there, you have no clout or influence there, you're just going to send out an email and people are going to just say it's spam. And now here's the problem. You got to clean your list. That takes time. You got to try to not have your domain blocked. That takes time. You got all this damage control to work, through, which is now taking time away, money away. And here's the thing that a lot of businesses don't look at. You're not making money. You're actually wasting money now. You're spending more money on damage control that you wouldn't have spent in the first place. That's the challenge. And that's why I tell people, if you don't have that strategy out, you don't have that process out, even if you spend a lot of money on ads and they are people that are interested, you're still not converting. So you're wasting money. And if you got a lot of people and you haven't identified your audience, you've got a lot of people calling you that you got your team talking to. That costs because you're paying them to talk to them. This time they're taking out to talk to them. Now, by the time I've talked to, let's say 20 people today that were not the right people. By the time the 21st person that is the right person calls, I'm answering the phone like, yeah, what? I'm not going to sell them because now I'm frustrated and it comes out in my tone. I'm like, I'm wasting my time with this. So now you're hurting your business because you didn't do what it took to establish a good strategy up front. Versus saying, okay, I might not be in front of 1 million. I might be in front of 100, but these 100 count, and I'm going to make each one of them count.
Yeah. And it comes back to strategy again. And actually that aligns very much with what I'm doing, like with domains. And it reminds me for some reason of Professor Kotler's quote, companies, I'm probably not going to quote it exactly, but it's something in the lines of companies spend a lot of time worrying about how much it costs to do something. They should worry instead of how much it costs not to do it. And that's for like entrepreneurs, especially first-time entrepreneurs, is a very, I find that like people go, I'm not going to, invest in that domain name. That's, it costs whatever. And then they're going to spend 10 times that trying to compensate what they would have had with that domain name. And I kind of get the feeling it's similar with you because like, especially because domain name people see it as like, well, it's not a physical thing. Like I can touch it and put it in a, so like I would imagine people, coming to you and saying, well, why would I pay for strategy? What does that look like? I can just, cobble something together. I can do it myself. Yeah. And not thinking about how much does it cost me actually not having that strategy.
Exactly. And even with domains, I know so many people that have got so many domains and they don't realize it until the next year when it rolls over and they got to pay for all these domains they haven't used because they had no strategy. They just were buying domains because the names sound good. And it's like, well, what are you going to do with that? I don't know. I've done it myself. I've had names and every year I convince myself I need to renew it. And it's like, this is your 4th year and you haven't done anything with this. Why are you renewing it again? Well, I don't want anybody else to have it, but you're not doing anything with it, or you have companies that they haven't secured other extensions of their domain. Okay, this is your business, but you haven't secured the .io or the .ai. Now that's the big thing. You haven't secured, back in the day it was .net, but, you haven't secured these other extensions and now somebody is taking it and running with it. So, it's all about forethought. If you have that forethought, you can maneuver a lot smarter than trying to react.
Yeah. And you can see that actually with a lot of successful businesses, successful entrepreneurs, when you dig out some early interviews or thoughts they share that how they thought about their business, like Jeff Bezos comes to mind, obviously an easy one. But if you look at how he was talking, he looked like a crazy person the way he was talking about, Amazon, and you see where he is now. But he, like, even when nobody was seeing that he had that vision, and So that strategy, and he just followed it through. And I don't think that would have been possible if he didn't have it, because you get lost around, lost on the way otherwise.
Oh, yeah, because honestly, when he was putting it out, people were like, why would somebody go online and buy a book? You got all these bookstores. And he's like, no, his vision was like, it's not even about the books. The books is just a product. It's not about the books. It's about the system. And once he got the system down and he got the process down, he started to notice, man, these recommendations, that's huge. Let me focus on giving people more recommendations. And once he started seeing it work with books, he was like, I can do this across a bunch of different products. Let me expand past books. Then when he found out that 5-10 years later, everybody else is like, I need a recommendation engine. Well, they wanted one like Amazon, but Amazon had perfected it because they've been doing it for years. Then after that, he said, you know what? People don't want to wait to get product. Let me have this 2-day shipment and just make it a part of what we do. People are like, that's crazy. That's crazy. Now it's normal. And everybody's trying to be like Amazon, and Amazon now can get it to you within hours, which is crazy, but it's like he starts seeing things and saying, okay, I see where the benefit really is. And I am going to work on that process. And the strategy was put out years before. And then once he started perfecting it, everybody else saw it as a shiny new toy and jumped on board. And they were trying to catch up. I worked with some major companies, and they literally were like, how does Amazon do it? We were sitting board meetings. They were like, how does Amazon do it? And we were reverse engineering what Amazon's doing. But understand, when you're reverse engineering what somebody's doing, that means they've already done it, perfected it, and they moved on to whatever the next step is. So
yeah, that's the thing. I think with innovation is like you have to be like ahead, like steps and steps ahead. And so I think you're running the risk of looking crazy, but that's just part of the game, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's all risk. I mean, everything doesn't work. I'm sure Jeff, Mark, all of them, I'm sure they've had things that they thought were going to work and it just did not work. But hey, it's a part of the game.
It is.
I think Elon has gotten reprimanded for a few things that didn't work, but he's not suffering. For the things that didn't work, there was a lot of things that did work. And so it's just a part of the game.
Absolutely. Well, that's been an absolute pleasure. Last question. Tell me what you're up to this year. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to building the community more and actually showing people how they can leverage AI as a asset versus a competitor, and how they can automate a lot smarter. So I'm excited to learn new things with the technologies that are coming out, the strategies and techniques that are coming out. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with, companies out there that are looking to grow.
Wonderful. I'll be looking out for that as well. I think everybody is looking out for like, how is it all going to go? And I agree with you that it's a tool. It's a tool. I think that there are people that are like, oh my God, we're going to get replaced. And I don't, it's like saying, we're going to get replaced when we got rid of typewriters and, we got computers. So it gets better and different. But I see it as a tool, definitely.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, that's been fun. Thank you. Thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure. I would have loved for you to have the hat out. That would have been great, so the world can see. But but yes, it's a pleasure. Pleasure being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of Smart Branding Podcast. Feel free to visit smartbranding.com for more information and reach out if you have any suggestions, questions, ideas, or just want to learn more about how a good domain name strategy can help you build a strong and successful brand. See you next time.